Hey, what's up guys, aarava here and welcome back to another episode of my F1 24 career mode. This is part number 37 today for the Brazilian Grand Prix in Season 2. If you guys did miss the previous episode though, then be sure to go check that one out before you see the rest of this one, as that may end up being the most crucial episode of the entire season at Singapore, as we were in a tantalizing battle wheel to wheel with our championship rival Fernando Alonso. It was tense, it was close, and it was gonna be a very good end to the race. I think we would have had enough to maybe just get the win over Fernando, but our car, the McLaren, had other ideas. Of course, the gearbox seized up at the worst possible time. We had just done so much hard work all race, and none of it mattered. None of it mattered, and we took the biggest L possible, because Fernando Alonso went on to win that Grand Prix. So he is now a whopping 30 points ahead of me in the Drivers' Championship, with only 4 rounds to go. And yes, this episode is a sprint race, so there maybe is a bit more of a chance to score a couple of more points. The rest of them aren't. So we've got 4 Grand Prix, 1 sprint left, and 30 points to try and come back from. And we're going up against the most in-form and quick Fernando Alonso I've seen in a long time in the F1 games. 2-2-1-1. That is his recent form. So he really looks like a man determined to get that elusive third F1 World Championship. And, well, this team just keeps having problems, whether it's pit stop issues, which we had in Singapore, actually, ironically, before the failure of the gearbox, which, by the way, Mark's emailed me to say, here's a little something to make up for it. 320 points. How's that worked out then? I've got 266 points. So let's recap. Not only is the team giving me car failures with gearbox issues, pit stop issues, team order problems with our teammates, but now they can't even figure out how to give us enough R&D points after a failure. Brilliant. The only thing that is going to actually thankfully go right are the upgrades we have pending. Of course, Lando had purchased one on the aerodynamic side. I purchased one on the engine side of things. And as we go on through into Brazil, Lando actually goes and buys another upgrade on the chassis side. So there are 3 upgrades coming in for this race weekend. We need those upgrades, because now with a 30-point deficit, we need to start punching back, and we absolutely have to be aiming to basically win every single race that is remaining in this season. And so with that, I'm double checking that we have the freshest engine possible for this Sao Paulo weekend, because we really need to answer it and come back with an answer this episode to set ourselves up, to have that momentum going into Portugal, Las Vegas, and Abu Dhabi, but also for ourselves, just to pick ourselves up from the DNF and come out swinging. But look at the R&D chart. Aston Martin in the high inflation that we've got in this season with the R&D scenario that we installed on for Season 2, a new game mechanic, of course. Aston Martin are defying the high inflation, and they upgrade even further, and they are officially the best team on the grid. We are no longer the best team on the grid, and even Red Bull are pretty much catching up to us. So if we hadn't had made those 3 upgrades, we would have been even worse off, like in the mud completely. Whereas now, there's still maybe a bit of hope, but it's all, the balls are all in Alonso and Aston Martin's court. He's leading the championship by 30 points. He's got the quickest car. We are completely up against it.
It's a Saturday showdown. Anyone fancy some hot laps around Interlagos? It's qualifying day here for the Sao Paulo Grand Prix.
Going into Sao Paulo, at least we have 2 efforts to try and gain some confidence back in ourselves in the season we've got left, basically. We have the sprint qualifying, and then obviously the sprint, and then a whole other full qualifying, of course, with the updated sprint format on this year's game. So we've skipped ahead to SQ3. It's a formality. SQ1 and SQ2, usual suspects. Both us McLaren cars in this session, both Red Bulls, both Ferraris, both Mercedes, and now both Aston Martins. As we saw last episode, even Lance Stroll now, Alonso's teammate, is doing well because that's just how good the Aston Martin car is. So Alonso is not even fighting this alone. He's got a rear gunner. You know, we've got Lando, who maybe hasn't been so helpful to us with all the team order controversies and whatnot, but you know Lance Stroll will be helpful to Alonso, or will try to be at least, you know, best to his ability, because he's nowhere near the championship fight. But Stroll and Alonso have always had a decent relationship, you feel, and especially in this scenario, you feel like Stroll will be bending over backwards to try and help Fernando in any way he can. But right now, we've still got some pace about us. You know, even though Aston Martin are the best team on paper, you got to remember the scaling of that graph is still quite zoomed in, so we could still make a difference here. We are making a difference in the middle sector. It was a yellow first sector, but we really pulled out the bag in the middle sector, and we've only gone quicker than Max Verstappen, who was actually P1, so it wasn't even an Aston on provisional sprint pole. It was actually Verstappen and Red Bull, who have also made upgrades of their own, but we take the top spot, and that is the biggest and best kind of, you know, statement we could make off the back of that DNF, getting the sprint pole. Alonso, though, is there in P3. Lando down in P8, which kind of confirms again, you know, how baffling it's been when we have had these team orders to let him by, because this season we've had the measure of him. We've grown into our own as a driver. He may be the reigning world champion, but he has not been consistent at all in this second season. So it's going to be me as a lone wolf versus Alonso, Verstappen, you know, the people around this. But the sprint, you know, there are some points on offer, but it's not going to be, you know, game-changing for us in the championship, but it's going to be good to set the tone for the rest of the episode, for the full Grand Prix ahead. So we go to 5 red lights for the sprint race here in Sao Paulo off P1. It's very overcast. I don't believe there's any rain on the way. There actually may be some rain later in the weekend for full qualifying, but for the sprint, it should be dry, but it's looking doom and gloom out there right now in terms of the overcast conditions. Verstappen remaining in second place, but look at Alonso, aggressive as ever. We saw a lot of that in Singapore, and Alonso again goes for the banzai dive, and he's up to second place. I'm telling you, this is scary. This is a brand new Fernando Alonso, a very over-aggressive, punchy Fernando Alonso, rather than the kind of calm, cool, collected thinker where he really thinks about the race. He's just gunning for it. He's just out and out got pace, and he knows it. He knows he has a car that has the pace, and it's crazy to see. It's scary to see, because here he is now, having made that overtake. We enjoyed the lead for a bit, but now lap 4, we're under pressure. We're having to really give Alonso this squeeze to the inside to defend P1, but you know, I thought we could maybe keep the DRS broken, but very quickly Alonso got back into range. But lap 5 onto 6, Verstappen is still in this fight, and he's now looking to repass Alonso. So ironically, the man who we were up against, you know, in tandem with Lando last season to get him that world championship in season 1, Verstappen could actually play a part in helping us in this fight, in not only this sprint, but if he's this quick in the full Grand Prix, he could well be, you know, if he was to finish second, let's say, in the full Grand Prix, Alonso P3, and we could go on to win the full race, that would really help us get a lot of points off Fernando Alonso. But that's then. Right now, this is the sprint. There's not such a points difference here, but this is, you know, like we've been told in real life, it's a great dress rehearsal, you know, because there's no real tangible difference between the sprint and the Grand Prix. So this may be a bit of a spoiler to what we can expect in the Grand Prix. And whoa, okay, hang on a minute though. Speaking of that though, Lance Stroll's just overtaken Alonso. That was not in what I had visioned for this race, and Stroll's now gone and overtaken Verstappen. Maybe the two of them wheel to wheel. We are enjoying a nice period where we are just controlling the gap ahead. By the way, you've seen the gap rise from 1 second to 2 seconds because these guys have been scrapping so hard. But Alonso's gone from fighting Verstappen for P2 to now just watching the battle in P4, and it's Lance Stroll that is the lead Aston Martin Martin. Eventually, Alonso actually gets Verstappen, so Verstappen's fallen away, and the two Astons are looking mighty strong. But it is the second driver, Lance Stroll. He's the Aston applying the pressure, and the pressure has been felt as we lose the back end because my tyres are really starting to scream out. The soft compound, it's a terrible race compound. I don't know why I didn't choose the mediums. I really did actually consider it, but I thought, okay, no, everyone around me is on soft, so let's just go softs. I should have gone with my gut feeling that us as a player, we would have struggled with the softs at the end, because that's exactly what's happening. Lance Stroll now leads the sprint race legitimately there with an overtake I couldn't even really defend much with. We've got DRS open, but we're not gaining much, and now we're looking backwards rather than forwards. The sprint win might be out the window as we lock up, we go deep, and Alonso now attacks us. It could be a 1-2 for Aston Martin very soon. We get the elbow out. Alonso squeezed off onto the curb. Perez is through, but look at the lack of grip I've got on this car, on these tyres. The tyres are shot. Verstappen's through into second place, and we are skating through, just trying to keep this thing going in a straight line. But every time we turn in mid-corner, the back end's dropping, and it's a combo of the tyre wear, and what I didn't know at the time, I will know by the end of the lap, is the internal carcass temperature was absolutely gone. But the tyre wear is pretty horrific as well. Perez goes down the inside. We can just narrowly defend that, but P2's gone. P2's gone in a flash. In a matter of 2 laps at the end of this race, we've gone from controlling the race lead in a calm, cool, collected way in P1 to now P3, and it looks like we're driving on ice. It literally looks like we are driving on an ice rink, and Perez is all over the back of this. Alonso's been pushed down to P5, but he may well still be a factor as this is just, it's just capitulation. I've completely capitulated here. I'm catastrophizing in the cockpit, and everything that could go wrong is going wrong. Perez is through, and Alonso is pushing us up the hill. I'm using all the battery I've got. Look at those tyres though. They're absolutely cooked and on the line. I can't believe it. Alonso actually overtook us on the line. He got us on the line. Oh my days. That's unbelievably embarrassing. I've capitulated completely there. My head completely went. As soon as Perez dived us and easily out-tractioned this, I panicked so much. My head went, and we just could not control that car. You saw how hot the tyres were. Both rear tyres and the front right, yellow internal temperature. And if you've played the game, you know, or if you've played past F1 games like F1 2018, where this used to be a problem with maxed out cars especially, when the internal temperature goes, you literally are sliding about every corner, and that's what was happening to me. You know, in hindsight, we should have used the mediums. I should have gone with my gut feeling. Obviously, in the race, the full Grand Prix, we may not, you know, no one, I think, will be using softs. So this may not be a problem in this sprint, but at the same time, it does make you think. It does make you worry. We were leading for so long, and then at the end, it all came undone. And that may be more of a reflection, not on the car or the tyres. Is it a reflection on me after the DNF? Can we keep our cool? You know, there's so much pressure to gap 30 points, now 31 points actually, I might add. Is that pressure getting to me? Because we really completely fell apart there at the end of that race. You know, it was very Sergio Perez-esque from real life. We just fell apart. And could that be a mental thing rather than actual car performance or tyre performance? Is something I am questioning in myself of can we keep it together to do what we have to do, which is, well, the task is the same. You know, we've done the sprint now. The task is the same. It's only, you know, now 31 points to gap, but we've still pretty much got to aim for a race win in every single Grand Prix, including this one. And so we have to dust ourselves off, pick ourselves back up, and we go again for qualifying, proper qualifying here at Sao Paulo. And it's going to be deja vu here around Brazil as we go and secure P1. This time it's the proper pole position. It's been a very different F1 game for me compared to past F1 games. It's been an F1 game where I'm actually qualifying very well, you know, but the races sometimes can get undone. Whereas pretty much for the past, like, I don't know, like 5-6 F1 games, I've always been a terrible qualifier, but knowing I can always fight my way back up to where I think we should be. Whereas here, we're qualifying well, basically doing a Leclerc. You know, we're qualifying well, and we're just not converting these good qualifications into race results. The sprint was case in point. It's a complete copycat top three. Myself, Verstappen, Alonso for the grid for the full Grand Prix. But what cannot be a copycat is what happened in that sprint race. And you know what? It definitely won't be, because there's actually forecasts for some rain in the Grand Prix, which is just another spanner in the works. Let's go to the grid.
Welcome along then to where heroes and history are made. It's where the 2008 title was decided in the very final corner. And just 1 year later, Jenson Button stormed through from 14th on the grid to claim his one and only Drivers' Championship. It's time then for the Sao Paulo Grand Prix. Interlagos, always a very special race here in Brazil. It's a 2.7 mile circuit with 9 left turns and 6 right turns for a total of 15 corners. It's a wet one today as well, so grip and visibility will be at a premium, and the drivers will need to be careful coming up the hill in Sector 3, the scene of many an accident over the years. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. In pole position then, it's McLaren, edging out Max Verstappen, who'll start from P2. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Fernando Alonso, Leclerc, Russell, Norris, Stroll, Sainz, Albon, Oscar Piastri, Perez, Bottas, Hamilton, Ocon, Gasly, Sargent, Joe, Tsunoda, Hulkenberg, and Daniel Ricciardo fills the last spot on the grid. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out then. Let's see who can prevail today. And alongside me in the commentary box today, a man who I always look up to, which is easier said than done, Anthony Davidson. Now, sadly, things didn't work out for them last time. It was a bad race. Question is, though, can they recover today?
Yes, they can, Crofty. You've got to put it behind you. Whatever happened last time, I was always told as a driver, park it, forget about it. Obviously, feel the pain when it happens, but then you can't dwell on it and carry that through to the next race. So put it behind you and just crack on with this race coming your way now.
You need to fight for a strong result today if we want to catch Alonso in the Drivers' Championship.
Mark there with some encouraging words for our championship fight. And to be honest, that's the first time I've heard Mark recently speak positively, try and, you know, motivate me a bit in the cockpit. So I'll take it. It actually feels nice to have him on side for once in this race, because we're on pole. It's raining though. It's intermediates. And we've got a long way to go. 36 laps around here. I think it's going to be drying out later. But this first stint's going to be nervy. We haven't driven this circuit in the wet at all race weekend. We've still got the sprint race in our mind with what happened at the end of that one. But hopefully we won't be using the softs today. We may just be using mediums and hards after this one. But right now we're on the green wall, intermediates. It's the same top 3 as the sprint, but we're looking to absolutely not have a repeat of the sprint results where Lance Stroll won and we completely fell apart as we go to 5 red lights. The Brazilian Grand Prix ahead of us. It's going to be a wet and wild one to kick it off. Lights out and we're underway. It's a little bit of wheel spin for us. We look back behind us to see where Verstappen is. Thankfully, he hasn't had the best of starts and we're able to maintain P1 into the CNRS, and it's again Alonso attacking Verstappen straight away, although I feel like Verstappen should have maybe a better run this time to maintain maintain P2 down this straight. He does. It's Verstappen still in second place, Alonso third, and Verstappen, well, we know how good of a wet weather specialist he is. Well, he's the one chasing us down. We're a little bit wide and understeering. Grip levels are interesting to say the least. It's almost like it's already starting to dry out and the Inters don't have full grip as we block off Verstappen on the inside, and in doing so, ironically, we almost let Alonso open up the door for the pass around the outside, so we could have actually helped Alonso weirdly in that situation as we again go defensive but also searching for some standing water as Fernando Alonso dives in on the inside. Lap 4 here. He's going to have a little bit of a tango dance with Max Verstappen, the two of them just losing the rear end of us so slightly in places. They're both their cars twitching away as they're still going to be at it down the straight. Alonso on the left, Verstappen on the right, and the Dutchman goes the long way round. Can he keep it around the outside? He's still got his foot in, but Alonso eventually will get that position. He's up into second place. Once again, we could find ourselves under pressure from our championship rival, but you can see my car is also looking a bit twitchy, and it is drying, definitely. So I'm trying to also find some standing water by going offline, staying to the inside here. But look at Alonso. He is just determined to go quick no matter what. It's just a new kind of Alonso. Just pace, nothing but pace. Literally no strategy, just pace. He's just going to try and beat us on pure pace. He's gone purple. Can we defend like we did in the sprint at the start of that one? We go very awkwardly to the middle, and that's on purpose to just make it very difficult for him to either go to the inside or the outside. But, oh dear, look at the rear tyre. Oh no, I'm getting PTSD already from the end of the sprint. No, no, no. The rear tyre, it's overheating. The internal carcass temperature. I'm desperately trying to find some water, but it actually looks pretty damn dry now. No wonder the tyres are overheating as Alonso goes for the kamikaze dive. Verstappen's there as well. All three of us make contact. It was Alonso into the side of my car, Verstappen into the side of his. That was unbelievable. How on earth have two AI cars dive bombed me from that far back and kept their nose in? The AI on F1 24, there's some real negatives compared to F1 23 where they're lacking that ability to race, break DRS trains, but I'll give them one thing. The aggression levels, the lifelike aggression levels to make moves is there. It's improved upon because, my word, I would not have thought they were making a dive like that, but lap 7... my engineers are still telling me it's on the kind of, cusp of still being intermediate. But I'm trying to ask them, are you sure? Because these tyres are really hot now. They look like molten lava almost on that internal temperature. But I'm still going quite quick. You saw there, I said a purple before Verstappen stole it. So I am actually going as quick as anyone. But the tyres on lap 8, I'm just too worried about them. So we're coming in now and no one else is in. So this is a gamble. But for me, even though I was going just as quick as everyone around me, because of those tyre temperatures, I'd be more comfortable going onto hards. It still looks very wet there as we enter the pit box. A lot of spray. I'm hoping that's just standing water in the pit lane. But we're onto the hard compound. I reckon, personally, I think we can go to the end. Lap 9 to lap 36. Sounds like a lot, but the hards are so consistent on this game. And, it's been a while since I've tried a very simple, boring one-stop. I would love for this to be a very simple one-stop race to the end if we can make this work. Let's see what others do. But right now, just gingerly going out there on track still feels like it's a little bit damp. But as we go on to lap 10, the grip starts coming. Some cars are still staying out, but Verstappen is in. Alonso, crucially, is in. And a load of other people. So it is the crossover point. But obviously, Science Joe and Stroll just have to stay out because their teammates have priority. But we actually come up behind Verstappen. We're behind the Dutchman. We have to go for the dive. It's a late one. We catch Verstappen unawares. Of course, he's come out on colder tyres. And so we make use of the tyres that we've got that have been heated up by that initial outlap. and we get back ahead of Verstappen. And that's crucial because, well, we were behind him, but Alonso was just behind us. And I would much rather be giving Verstappen a tow to be there in between us to take points off Alonso. But there's a long, long way to go in this race before we start even thinking about the final results. Lap 11, Verstappen is actually attacking us. So even though I would prefer him to be there, he might just be an equally tough candidate to try and keep at bay. But at least he's on the hards as well. We go defensive and we're going to block off that inside line. Alonso, you may be able to just pick out he's on mediums, as are a lot of other people, as Verstappen continues to attack us lap after lap, and we just do enough to defend, giving him the squeeze onto the curb. Alonso's there though, and it's going to be nose to tail from P1 nearly down to P5 Leclerc, and everyone behind Verstappen are on mediums, as Zhou Guanyu, I think, gets in the middle of things. He's a lapped car, and we, on purpose, you may have noticed there, I actually weaved around him in such a tight way that Zhou, for a moment, blocked off Alonso. So I'm trying to think as tactically as possible to try and give us the biggest advantage in this race. But right now, lap 15 then, as we're nearly halfway through the race, Lando, for the first time in the race, first time we've really even seen his name, to be honest, sets the fast lap of the Grand Prix. So I just want to know if he's on the hards or the mediums, just to establish if I'm going quick or not. He's on mediums, makes sense, but at least I know there is a bit of pace in the car, because, you know, in a McLaren, on mediums, he's going quicker than Alonso on mediums. So there is still some pace in this McLaren for sure around Sao Paulo, and I'm feeling much better about our decision to be on the hard tyres. But one thing it does open us up to is being attacked by Verstappen, and more importantly, Alonso is just lurking in the background, always waiting for the right opportunity as we go wheel to wheel with Verstappen. Real nice, respectful scrap between us two, but he's lost a bit of time on the exit of the Senna S, and Alonso may just fancy this. DRS open for the Spaniard, and he's maybe through by a whisker. He's got a nose ahead, but Verstappen is defiant in his defense on the inside, and he does us a favor, ironically. Like I've said before, you know, he could really actually help us out in a weird way by staying ahead of Alonso. But look at this, it's getting a bit too close for comfort, as Alonso is almost you know, 3 wide with myself and Verstappen. We stay ahead, but at one point, if we opened up the door enough, that could have been a 3 wide moment, and Alonso seems really determined now to overtake Verstappen. I wonder if it's because he's going to be making a pit stop, as are other medium tyre runners, because there he goes. It's a aggressive, nice move for him on the inside, but I think he's due a pit stop, and he comes in on lap 22, as does Leclerc. Other cars behind Lando as well on the mediums. I think pretty much most of the top 10 behind us were on mediums. It's only myself and Verstappen that chose the hard tyres. So, you know, I'm hoping now myself and Verstappen and Red Bull strategists, we're going to be the clever ones today, going on the hards, going to the end of the race. These guys will be on, obviously, much quicker, fresh medium tyres, but they're going to be, you know, what, 16 plus 20 seconds behind us. And Lando, actually, hang on a minute, Lando's jumped Leclerc. Lando's jumped Leclerc in the pit stops. So he's actually going to be the next car behind Alonso. So if Lando wants to kind of show the same pace he did in that second stint with, you know, quicker purple lap times, he could even do us a favour versus Alonso. If he could overtake Alonso, that would be huge for us. But of course, we've had that history with the team orders, so will he want to help us is another thing. But I would like to think deep down he knows we helped him so much in Season 1 to secure that championship. So I'm hoping he could do the same. But lap 27 then, Alonso, he's bringing the gap down, but the gap's so large that I just don't think he's going to be anywhere near us. You know, maybe until the very last lap of the Grand Prix, perhaps, if myself and Verstappen scrap enough. But I'm trying to play this as clever as possible. I'm not trying to fight Verstappen too much, not having too many side-by-sides. And we're playing the ERS very nicely. We're going none into Sector 2. We're lifting off to also make sure the fuel's okay, because at one point the fuel was 0.5. I've now got it back up to 0.8. So I'm learning from my mistakes in Hungary, and we're just really trying to play the clever game of just maintaining this lead whilst also trying to save fuel, save ERS, and not scrap Verstappen too much as we park the car very awkwardly into turn 1. But this is lap 31 then, so this is 4 laps later, and in 4 laps, Alonso has brought the gap down from 16 seconds to 9 seconds. So these guys are coming at us at a rate of knots. But, you know, what else is happening? Lando is catching and is within 1 second of Alonso. And also, by the way, they're not even on mediums. I've just realised they're on hards. So now I definitely think that we made the clever choice along with Verstappen to just go on to hards straight away. Speaking of Verstappen, though, until lap 32, he's coming at us at a rate of knots. Our potential future teammate nearly crashes into us as our current teammate overtakes Alonso. Lando has actually done us a favour here. In the last couple of laps, he's got ahead into 3rd place. We maintain 1st. And of course, I say our potential future teammate, because remember, if you haven't been keeping up, we've had 2 secret meetings with Red Bull for Season 3. So you never know, we could actually end up being alongside Verstappen. But right now, our current teammate is trying his hardest to defend P3. Alonso, though, for obvious reasons, trying very hard to re-overtake him, and he does. He's back up into P3 on lap 34. Verstappen nowhere near making a move that time as we just go to the inside as a precaution. And again, we have to give Verstappen a bit of a squeeze. This time, he's got his car fully alongside us. We're going to just edge ahead, though, through the middle of the center S. And oh, yes, Lando's got back ahead. Yes, Lando into P3 once again. Please, can it end that way? No! Another twist in the tail. Alonso comes back at Lando for the 2nd time in this last stint, and he's up to 3rd again. And now, all of a sudden, on the last lap of the Grand Prix, he's actually lining up a move on Verstappen. He may have been fighting with Lando, but they've both been so much quicker than both of us, myself and Max. They've caught up to us. He can't make a move then as we go back to our POV. We've not got a tyre temperature issue. The tyre wear feels pretty high, and I'm getting a little bit of a worry as I see the rear end just starting to slide a bit. So we're going to slow this down, go to none, save all the battery in the world for that last climb up the hill, because I am not being beaten on the line again like we did in the sprint, and we're just going to take it nice and easy. Alonso can be there, fair enough, he's got 3rd place, but Verstappen will get the toe off me to maintain 2nd place, hopefully, but just not enough of a toe to overtake me as we go round the final bend here in Sao Paulo. It's been a very topsy-turvy race weekend, but we end it in the best way possible. We've won!
Are you not entertained?
Are you not entertained indeed? Oh, we needed that. We needed that. That was a confidence booster. The way we control that last stint all the way from lap 9, we needed that. Absolutely. 1 win down, 3 more to go.
Another superb Sao Paulo Grand Prix comes to an end then, and it's a thoroughly deserved victory.
A great display of dominance today, Crofty, by this driver. They led from lights out to the flag at the end, led every lap of the race. Brilliant stuff by them, and excited to see what more they can do in future races.
Our drivers are making their way out for the podium celebrations, and it's going to be McLaren picking up the winner's trophy. Congratulations to the entire team for that fantastic performance.
We defied the problems we had in the sprint. We've got that win in Sao Paulo. The gap is down to 21 points. And to be fair, because Alonso got 3rd, not 2nd, there is obviously a way we could still bridge the gap without winning all 3 races coming up, but I feel like we just have to aim for the highest possible thing, because if you aim high, then if you end up in the middle, that still might be good enough for us. So if we just aim to try and win the remaining races this season, I think that'll be the best way we can go about it mentally to try and still keep up the pressure in the championship. But it's still a tall order. 3 rounds to go, 21 points. It still seems like a lot to get through, and we go to the next race. It's a big unknown. It's Portimao for the very first time with this F124 handling. How on earth that roller coaster of a track's going to feel on this game, I don't know. It's a bit of a worry that it could feel horrendous for us. Let's see, but that's a big episode for us. Be sure to hit the like button, guys. If you have enjoyed it, let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.